Hello, everybody. Tonight's importing sequences, and Michael from Showstoppers Sequences is going to give us his wisdom and how to do it properly. Thank you, Mike. Take it away.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it, and I appreciate the opportunity to come here and talk with everybody. For those of you playing along at home, every time I say the word zip file, you take a sip of whatever it is you're drinking. I say just a sip because if you start doing shots, you won't make it to the end. But it is being recorded. All right. So one of the things that they asked me to do was go over the old school way. That is how to import a sequence before we actually had the zip file import. That's how I learned, and the folks that have been in the hobby for probably about 3 years or longer. That's how we all learned how to do it. But there's a whole new quote unquote generation of people coming into the hobby that don't know how to do it, and it's an important skill, I think, because sometimes the importing from the zip file doesn't work 100%. I have this one file. I don't know what it is. I cannot figure it out. But there's this file that just will not put the faces on an omega tree, and I've had it happen probably 7 or 8 times on just that one sequence. Never can figure it out. Never can see a pattern. It just doesn't work all the time 100%. So I've got this little PDF that I send people showing them how to actually go back and import a face onto a prop from a zip file. So it is an important skill. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to show you the old school way of downloading a file. You actually unzip it. You change your directory to where that file is located. You call up the sequence. You render it and save it, and then you do your import. And after you do your import, go through the import, you've got to go in and actually put the faces on whatever prop you've got. If you're using faces, I say that it's not mandatory. If you've got, for example, singing props and you don't have to go through this process, all you've got to do is change the face definition to your singing prop where the face effect is in the sequence. All right, so let's start. I'm going to share my screen if I can. Okay, that's the one I'm going to share for right now. All right, so let's talk about zip filing. I've got a directory here that I've created. These are just some of the more common sequencers that you'll see and that I see being used. I'm going to use one of mine just because I'm familiar with it. Okay, so if I download a zip file, the reason why I showed you the directory structure is, sometimes I will come and help people. They'll call and they're like, hey, I don't know what's going on here. And we spend a lot of time in the Zoom meeting just trying to figure out where they put stuff. All right, so what I always recommend you do is you develop a structure that kind of works for you. And the one that I've seen that seems to work for a lot of people is they'll create a directory, doesn't matter where, as long as it's not in your show directory. Remember that, it's very important. The only thing you want in your show directory is your stuff, not anybody else's. All right, so example I've got here is, just purchase sequences.
Hey, Michael, just so
Yes.
you know, you shared just xLights. We can't see what you're
You
showing.
can't see what I'm doing? Let me see.
Nope.
Let me change the shared screen. Okay, let's try that one. Okay, now you should be able to see it.
Yep.
Okay, so just purchase sequences, list of the ones, like I said, the more common sequencers that I see. And then underneath each sequencer, you can keep whatever sequences that you download from them. Now, what I'm going to do is exactly opposite of what you're supposed to do. I'm going to unzip this and import it from the zip file. So let me go through here. I'm going to extract everything. Just hit extract all. I'm just going to save it right there. Okay, so it's unzipped. I know it's sitting there. And now let's go back to, as the window is closed. See if we can share that one. Okay, now let's go back here. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to go over here to the controllers. Now, people always ask me, well, how do I know where my show directory is? Well, if you come over here and it says show directory, you see this where it says C:user stop desktop /mapping. Okay, that's the show directory for this presentation. You can have different show directories, and you can set up different layouts. Some people set it up by year. Again, the important thing to remember is your zip files. Anytime you download a file, you can unzip it, you can put it anywhere except for in your show directory. Now, once we're to this point, we're gonna start manipulating what's already been downloaded. There's two ways that you can change your show directory. You can change it temporarily. All right, so let me hit that, and I'll go over here to my desktop. And in my desktop, I'm going to go to Purchase Sequences, go to Showstopper, and you'll see that right there we have that time of year is listed there. I'm going to click on that. Okay, this is the directory that I want, is the one that says traditional. So I'm going to select that folder. Now, here's what a lot of people don't realize. I get questions sometimes. Hey, how do I get what you have in your layout? How do I see what you've done? Anytime you download a sequence that has been packaged by xLights, you will get a file that basically puts together the sequence that's being packaged, any supporting media, your shaders, your video, your JPEGs, your PNGs, your SVG files. All that media is going to be packaged in there. If there's any sound or video, that's going to be in there. But as far as what's important for the layout, what you're going to get is what I packaged, what I put together, which is the layout. So everybody who gets a package, and I don't care who it's from, like I said, I'm just using my stuff, but you get one from PPD, you get one from Magical Light Shows, you get one from Pixel Perfect or Sequence Solutions. If you get one of those, you're going to get exactly what they sequence to. So you have that available to you. So if you go in there, you get, if you look at it, you've got every group, every prop. We get past my groups down here, and you can actually, see every prop that's in there one by one. All those things are available to you. You have them. Now, what happens when you create when a sequence is packaged? What's going to happen is that xLights is going to take the directory structure that is on the source computer. All right, whoever is packaging it together, it's going to take their directory structure, and that's what it's going to use to locate things like media. Your video, your PNGs, your SVGs, your JPEGs, all those things, GIFs. They're all going to be any file pointer is going to be the same as the source. Is going to be the same as the source computer. And if people will just immediately unzip it and go and import, they're going to get the dreaded red prop, where it's all red, it's not doing anything. Well, when it turns red like that, that's just basically xLights telling you I can't find a resource. And the reason why I can't find the resource is because it's looking in a directory that in all likelihood does not exist on your computer. Why? Because it's the directory structure from the source computer. So back in the old days, old school, what you would do is you would change your directory over to where it was downloaded, and you would load it up. And then what you would do is you would open up the sequence. All right, so I'm going to open that one up. Give it a few minutes while it's doing its thing. Okay, it's loaded up. After it's loaded up, now remember, you're in this other directory, all right? What you'll want to do is you want to render and save it. Now I've got it mine set to where it'll save and render at the same time. So I'm going to go ahead and just save it. It'll go through the render process. Now, the most important thing to remember is what this render process does is it actually goes in and changes all the file pointers. In other words, it changes it from the source computer to your computer. That's important, obviously, because then when you import, you're not going to get that dreaded red prop, which says xLights cannot find that resource. So after you have rendered that, let's see if we're done. I really can't tell right now because the Zoom stuff is in the way, but it looks like we're good. Let me call this down here and see what we've got. See if we actually have something. Okay, so we do have something. One of the things I'll point out is that I did not have to go and select the media file. Reason why everything resides here on my computer. So I didn't go in and create a fake file where the media resources were somewhere else so it could find it. But in all likelihood, you're going to have to find the MP3 that you're going to use for that sequence. So when you load it up, it's going to tell you can't find the media file. Just browse to where it is, select the MP3, and it'll load it up for you. Like I said, it's kind of wonky on my computer because all the resources are here and my computer knows where those things are. So it's really difficult to sometimes fake it out. But anyway, you will probably have to, most likely will have to do that. Find that MP3 file, load it up, and it'll be there in the waveform. Now, for those of you that don't know, if for some reason you can't find the media file, trust me, I've been there where somebody, well, I know I bought it, and we spend 10 minutes that person looking for it. Remember, you can always go up to File, go to Sequence Settings, and later on add a media file. And you just click out here on the right and you can browse to wherever the media file is. And so anyway, you can always add it afterwards after you've created a sequence. All right, so now we have done what we wanted to do. We've gone in, we went back, and we've created that. Let's go back to the controllers. And you'll see here, I've got a new button up here that allows me to restore to permanent. All right, so I'm going to restore it to permanent. Ask me if I want to save the changes. Yeah, let's go ahead and we'll just let it do its thing. Doesn't take it too long to render. All right, so now what it's doing is it's saving it. And when it's done, we're going to go back to the show directory. This is, remember, the show directory is where the one I'm talking about right now is the one where you keep stuff, where your show is. All right, so we'll let it do its thing there. Yep, got the blue circle of death there. Almost done. Okay, let's go back to our layout now, and you'll see that we're back to where we were before, different layout entirely than what we had. All right, so now what you would do is we are going to do the mapping. We'll go to import, maybe. We're going to do, I'm sorry, if we do file, new sequence, musical sequence. I'm going to go over here. Sometimes I find it easier just to use the contributing artists to figure out what's going on. Now I edited that one because it's got some things from the YouTube at the beginning, so it's a different one than what the one people buy. All right, so I'm going to open that. I always do 40 frames per second. Do a quick start. Okay, and now this is what I've got. I've got the house preview down here on the left, model preview, color, layer blending, layer settings, effect settings, and then I've got the stuff over here. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to rearrange this a little bit. I just prefer having the smaller windows and a bigger work area. All right, so I'm going to go to import. I'm going to import the effects. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to browse to where it's located on my desktop. Go back to the purchase sequences. Now I'm not using the zip file. This is the old school way. Remember, I'm going to that time of year, traditional layout, and I'm going to select that sequence. And I'm going to tell it to use that. All right, now this is the import dialog. Now the stuff I'm going to cover now applies whether you're using the old school or the new school, however you want to do it. But on your left-hand side, these are the items, okay, that are in your master file. We'll talk about a little bit more about the master file, but remember the master file is the file that keeps track of the resources that you're going to use for a particular sequence. It also determines your render order, that is the order that things render in. What I will tell you is that the general rule for your master file is you want the big stuff on top, little stuff on the bottom. Now you see mine right here, it's alphabetical. That's how it shows up, is alphabetical. Doesn't show up in render order. It just shows up that way. That's one of the reasons why I use this crazy numbering system, is because when I come in, the numbers that I have here are also my render order. So because this side on the left, when I do a mapping, will come in, everything's listed in kind of the render order, and I make sure based on what I'm importing that things happen the way they're supposed to. All right, so on the right hand side are the resources, the things from the source sequence that I have available to me to use. Now, obviously, this is more than what's on this side. So I'm not going to use everything, but it's there if I want to. And that's important because you remember, you don't have to map like to like. In other words, you can take your arches and you can put your arches on a high definition prop. If you want to take your candy canes, you can put them on a snowflake. It just doesn't matter because xLights is transferring the effect and not the model. Now, there's some instances where you have to kind of go in and tweak it, like on spirals, the shapes effect. There's some things that are kind of specific to the size of the prop that you're importing it to, and you have to make some size adjustments to make it identical to the source. All right, so what we're going to do, and typically what I will do is in all the sequencers generally do this, with some exceptions, they will do things in groups. It's just an efficient way to get to everything. So what I'll do is I'll come over here. All right, I've selected arches. I'll come over arches here. I'm going to double click. Okay, you'll notice when I double click, it went down to candy canes. Just so happens that candy canes is the next one on the left. So I'm going to double click again. And it added arches, then it added the candy canes. Now snowflakes are down here. So I'm going to come down to that one and then double click. Then the spinners are next. You come down to the spinners. All stars. Let me see if I've got anything on the all stars. Now I don't have anything that would apply to the all stars. So let me see, what can I put on there? Let me put on the all stars.
You have an all stars on there.
Pardon?
You do
there
have
it
an
is. Okay, yeah, there it is. Okay, I missed it entirely. All right, the everything file. Let's do the everything there. let's do the everything but the mega tree, and starburst and matrix. Okay, I'm going to put that on there. Okay, real simple mapping. I'm going to tell it okay. You'll notice over here that it's got the structure, the lyrics, all that sort of thing. And do I want to exit? Yeah. Now, most of the time, and this is what I recommend. This is one way to do it. I'm going to show you a better way to do it. If you get this, you got to make a decision. Do I want to save this? Okay. If you don't want to save it, you tell it yes. If you want to come back and save it, you tell it no. All right, so I'm going to tell it no. All right, so let's save this mapping. And let's call it mapping class 1. Okay, now I've got that saved. We tell it okay. And now it's in there. Now, the reason why you want to save that, let's say I want to change something. All right, so let's go back up to import effects, select that file again. All right, now you'll see we get the same thing we had before. Let me load the mapping. All right, you see everything that I previously did was already in there. So it's already been put back in. You'll notice one change, the timing tracks, which have already been imported, they are no longer checked up here on the left. Okay, I'm going to tell it, let's erase an existing effect on an imported model. Usually I will leave that blank, except for on subsequent subsequent imports. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take everything here. I've got a focal point group that I'm going to put on everything but the mega tree and the matrix. So it's going to go right there. All right, so I changed that and it's going to erase what's already there. Tell it it's okay. Okay, so that actually did change some of the things that went on the everything, but the mega tree and the matrix. So let me render this. We will save that as that time of year. Going to take a little bit. For those of you that are new to this, you'll notice that the everything's grayed out at the top. When it comes back full color, you know that you're done rendering. Okay, while I was doing that, anybody got any questions on what we've covered thus far?
Well, I'm just as confused as I was 30 minutes ago.
Remember, you take a sip every time I say zip file.
What is it you're calling a focal point group?
Focal point group is, and I've got a video on that on YouTube if you want to go and look at it. But basically what I do with a focal point group, let me get over here and I'll show it to you at its source. Let's go to the controllers and change that temporarily to nope. Select that folder. Let it do its thing. When it changes up here, I'll show you what the focal point group is. The focal point group is kind of a shorthand way to focus your audience's attention at a specific element. All right, so let's go to the layout over here. And I'm going to try to show you this. Sometimes just with the zoom, it does not show up as well. Okay, let me start with just everything but the starburst. Okay, Now, I think you can see it pretty well. There's a red hash mark here. That is the center of my display. That's kind of, depending on the effect, it's either 0, 0 or 50, 50, depending on, X50, Y50, X0, Y0. Okay, that's the center. Now, if I drop an effect like a shock wave or a ripple effect, if I drop that on that everything but starburst, that's going to be the center of that effect. Now I can take the time and figure out how to move it over using the X and Y to get it centered. But I use the FPG, okay, this is the FPG matrix. Look where the hash mark is now. The hash mark is on the center of the matrix. And I've taken the matrix out of the mix because usually there's something else going on there that I want people to look at. Good use of this is, let's say you want to put the fan effect on the house or on the rest of the effects. You want to put that there while you've got something cool going on in the matrix. Well, all you got to do is put it on that FPG matrix. You don't have to adjust the X and Y. It's automatically centered that way. So it's just a shorthand way to do it. Like I said, I've got the FPG mega tree, FPG starburst, which is that one right there. Okay, so you can make as many of those as you want instead of just putting everything right on the center, which is the default. You can create your own focal point groups. It's real easy to do because all you've got to do, and you'll see over here, you see that X and Y? Okay, you just adjust the X and the Y to get it exactly on whatever you want attention focused to. See, that's the matrix, and you'll see the X is 138 and the Y is 330 instead of 0, 0. So real easy to create. You just copy one of your one of your everything groups. You can clone it, and then after you clone it, you give it a unique name, letting people know it's an FPG group, and then modify that center offset so that the crosshatch is exactly where you want it. Again, it's just a sequencing shorthand. You can go in and modify every effect by changing the X and Y so it gets to that same location, or you can just create a group and drop it on that group.
Yeah, thanks. That's very clever.
All right, let me get back to a permanent group.
Didn't say zip and you took a sip.
I didn't catch that.
Said you didn't say zip and you took a sip.
Man, my speaker must be off. I apologize. Okay, so it's kind of doing its render thing right now since we came back to it. Okay, we never did take a look at what we've got. Let me call this up, make it a little bigger. Let me adjust the audio to quiet so I don't blow you out. Now this won't have everything, but we'll have a few things. Okay, simple, easy to do. Let me stop that, put that back up. All right, so that is the basics. Now, here's one of the issues you're going to have, and let me show you. Let me go back to import because I did not import the tree yet. So let me select that. We're going to open it. One of the things that I forgot to mention, you can import as many times as you want, and you can overwrite, you can adjust, you can do whatever you want on these things, and it's really up to you exactly how you use it. It always amazes me when I see somebody take my sequence and put it on their props, and they'll do a better job. It just looks better on their stuff than it ever did on mine. It's always a lot of fun to actually see that. Okay, I got a mega tree here. Let me find my mega tree. Should be tree right there. It's the first tree. Tell it okay. Do I want to save it? Yep, we're just going to save that. Okay, now you'll see here on the tree, I've got the face put in there a few times. And you'll notice here that when I click on it, the face definition is the default. That is clearly not Olaf. Olaf has not been installed on the tree yet. All right, so let me go over here, show you how to do that. Now remember, this is if you do not import from the zip file. If you import from the zip file, xLights will do this for you. All right, so what we're going to do, I've highlighted the tree, and what we're going to do is we're going to come down here to the faces on the left-hand side. I'm going to click the three dots, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to add Olaf. Olaf is a matrix. It kind of put him in there because it's looking for Olaf, couldn't find him, so it went to default. Now there's two categories here. There's eyes open and eyes closed. What I'm going to do, you'll notice I first clicked on the mouth E movement. The reason why I did that was to change the focus of the cursor to that dialogue. Now I'm going to double click on the mouth AI. All right, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to browse to where Olaf is, and I'm going to select the Olaf-AI, underline AI, underline EO. Okay, what that is it's Olaf, the phoneme is AI, and he's got his eyes open. So if I double click on that, it fills them all in. All right, so let me do the same thing on the eyes closed. Now you'll notice there's only one where he's got his eyes closed. Trying to see where that is. I don't have Olaf with his eyes closed at all. All right, so Olaf, I'm going to double click there so that when he tries to blink, there's going to be something defined there. But Olaf does not blink. All right, so I'm going to tell it okay. Now, if there were eyes closed, I would select the AI underline EC. The EC is for eyes closed. So I'm going to tell it okay. That's how you install a face onto a prop, whether it's a tree or a matrix or whatever you want. So I'm going to save that. I'm going to go to the sequence. I'm going to render it again.
If we're importing from the zip file, we wouldn't need to do that, would we?
No, you don't have to. This is kind of a primer on, if something if importing from the zip file doesn't work, you can do this. A lot of people still like to use the old school way, and the reason why is because it helps familiarize them with the original sequence and how it's structured. What they'll do is they'll sit there and they'll watch it with their mapping worksheet and go, yeah, I want this prop on my display. Cool. And they'll take notes. So there's some people who prefer the old school way as opposed to the new, just because they feel like, well, it makes them, they're more intimately involved with the source file. All right, so let's go over here and we'll see if we got Olaf. Yep. No, now Olaf. Let me go to the one that said default. I'm going to click on that one. Yeah, see, it says Olaf as well. All right, so we added that on there. So that's the old school way of doing it. Now, if you were, and I do want to mention this, if you were wanting to, let's say you've got just a singing tree or something like that, and you've got, and you want to just put that on the prop, what you would do is you would come over here and just change the face definition on those, all those right there. Okay, so you just change your face definition to, the rendered will kind of give me the default. But if you just change it to your face definition for your prop, then those face effects will work just fine. Because basically all it's doing is it's telling it to read these lyric tracks that are up here at the top. All right, so any questions about anything thus far? All right, let me go over some. Let's say, for example, you load a, let me see, what can we load in here? Let's say you've got some graphics or something that has been loaded up and nothing actually is where it's supposed to be. What I mean by that is none of the graphics are you're getting the red tree, you're getting a red matrix, whatever it is. What you can do is you can go into, let me go to the view, go to the windows, and come down here to select effects. Okay, that gives us another dialog here. Okay, and let's say I want to select an effect. I'm just going to, I don't really have any graphics in here, but if I were to pick if I were to have any, I would pick pictures. If it were video, I would pick video. I haven't loaded up the video yet. All right, so when you do that, what it will do is it'll go through, it'll tell you what models that have been selected. So you hit select all, and it selects all those models. And then you'll get every effect that is down there, and then you can tell it to select all. Okay, then after you have selected all, let me just pick something here so I can show you. Let me just put a graphic on there. All right, after you select the graphic there, let me put this dialog, let me dock it. Okay, you'll see here that there is a browse. If you had multiples, that is, you just selected all of them with the select effects. Now that I put a couple in there, let me do it. Let's select picture. It's on the matrix in the tree. Let's select on the matrix and the tree. Tell it to select all. Okay, it's going to go through and do that. All right, now all I've got to do is select one of them. And I'm holding down the control key. I'm going to click on it, and then I'm going to click on it again. So I'm pointed at this one. And if I come over here to the browse, I can right click and bulk edit the path. And what that does is it will allow me to browse anywhere where the files are located. All right, so I can browse to those effects and change the directory. So that's the manual way, the easiest way to, change everything all at once. You can just bulk edit the file path. And again, that's the only time I've used that is when something goes wrong. When something doesn't work the way that it should be, it allows me to go in, quickly select the effects, and then change the resource directory to one that's not from the source computer, but it's on my computer. All right, so let me see what else here on my notes. Now, another thing that you can do, let's say, you've got a prop here, and I'm just going to pick like the snowflake, for example. Okay, the snowflake has its own set of effects right here. But let's say, you know what, I really think I want to look at some of the spinner effects on that. So what I can do is I can come up here and I'm going to insert a layer above, and then I'm going to insert multiple layers below. Usually what I'll do, if I don't know how many layers there are, I'll add about 10, because you can always delete them later. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in and I'm going to import effects. Going to go back to desktop, purchase sequences, that time of year. Going to select that. Okay, now I'm going to go down and I'm going to take my spinners right here, and I'm going to put them on snowflakes. Okay, I don't need to save that. All right, and you'll look here, what has happened is now I have the snowflakes and the spinners on the same prop. Okay, so let me delete the unused layers. Okay, the top one I know that I just added, it added 2 rows for the spinners. And so it's going to be something different than what's down here that was originally with the snowflakes. Now, this is a real simple example, so it's not very elaborate, but let's say you've got something that you don't have already imported, because it is just as easy to, come down here, go to the spinners, right click, go to the model, tell it to copy the effects, okay? Then come up here, insert multiple layers above. Let's do 3. And then let's go ahead and tell it to model paste effects. And it'll put basically the same, you'll see these are duplicates now. We've got some duplicates that came in because I had already done it. All right, so, but you can do a cut and paste. You can also do another mapping. Another thing that is really handy is, and this is more applicable, I think, to bigger displays, drive-throughs, things like that. What you can do is you can map back. Okay, what I mean by that, let's say we can go and import effects from the sequence that we're working on. No, that was the wrong one. Hang on. That's the one I want. Okay. Now you'll see here, the only thing that shows up on the right-hand side are the stuff that we've already mapped. All right, so I can come back. Let's say I wanted to do the everything, do that again, because I did the FPG matrix before. Everything but the mega tree, I'll put that on there. Okay, so I just mapped from the file that I had previously created. Really handy. Let me give you an example. Let's say, you just added 2 or 3 new props. You've got some existing spinners, something like that. What you want to do is you want to take what you've already got on your existing sequences. So you'll call up an existing sequence and go to the prop and then do an import. And then you can import from what you've already got to the new props. And that's your starting point. And that can be very handy. It cuts down on a lot of the work that you have to do. When you have a new prop. A lot of people aren't aware that you can actually do that you can actually map back that way. So that's just something to be aware of, that it is something that you can do. All right, so any questions thus far about the old school? All right. Any questions about the mapping dialog? Because again, that also works with the the existing stuff. Um, okay, so we're good there. Now let's talk about the new way of doing things, actually mapping from the zip file itself. All right, so let me close this sequence. We can discard those changes. All right, so now what we'll do is we're going to go up, we're going to go File, we're going to make a new sequence. We're going to find the music. .40 frames per second, quick start. Okay, now we're going to do an import. We're going to import the effects back to the desktop. Our purchase sequences. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to select not the subdirectory under that time of year, but I'm going to select the zip file. So we're going to be importing directly from the zip file itself. Okay, let's load the mapping that we previously did. There it is. Okay, that did that. Let me go ahead and let's add in the mega tree because we didn't do that last time. Okay, so we've got that there. And on the matrix, let's add in the large matrix. We didn't do that at all the last time. Okay, you'll notice since it's a new one, we've got everything there. We got the structure, the lyrics, all those things. The timing tracks are selected automatically. We're just tell it I'm going to save that mapping since we added the tree and the matrix to it. I'm going to save what's there, but you can give it a new name. If you wanted to give it mapping class or whatever 2, I'm going to just replace what's there because I'm just adding to it. We'll tell it okay. Okay, brought everything in. Let's do save. And I'm going to save over that. Let's give it a new name. Call it that time of year 2. Okay, it's going to take a little while to render because this time we added in the matrix and the tree, so it's going to add a little render time to it. And since it's the first time, we don't have a render cache that's been built for it yet, so it takes a little bit. Getting close. If I could sing, that would be a good time to do it, but I can't, so saving you that.
Just hum the Jeopardy theme song and that'll be good.
And dun, 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 dun. Okay, we're done. All right. A couple of things I want to show you just right off the bat. Okay, let's go down to the matrix. This is something it doesn't I wanted to show you. Okay, you see it pops up. I'm gonna go to the effect settings. Okay, look at this directory structure. Okay, it went to my desktop where I've got this. It's got the mapping, and then it created a new directory called imported media. And for that time of year, and then under that time of year, it's got videos, and then it directly imported it. One of the things that using the zip file does is it creates a new media structure under your show directory. Okay, let me see if I can get to where I can show that to you. Okay, can you see my file explorer now? On the sharing, can you see my file structure?
Yes, we can.
Okay, I just want to make sure that I didn't lose anybody. Okay, so now let's go to the desktop. We have here our mapping. Okay, this is what I'm talking about. I don't know if you can see it here, but it says imported media. I'm going to double click on the imported media, has that time of year, and then it has the two types of media that's available. We've got images. So you see some of the images that are brought in. And it also has the video. There's just one video. Oh, I take that back. There's two. Forgot about the menorah. All right, so there's two videos there that are brought in. Now, what it will do is for every imported sequence that you have, it will create a subdirectory under imported media with the name of that sequence, and then it will break that sequence down by images, videos, shaders. I don't have any shaders in there, so that would be something that it would do. All right, so it automatically creates that structure for you. Another thing that it does is it will automatically add the face to whatever prop you have. Let me get back over to here. And I'm going to go back to where we're at right here. Okay, we should be back to xLights. I hope we are. All right, so now we're back there, but it imports any face that's out there that's being used. It will import it automatically to the faces. In other words, you don't have to go back in and do it. Now, like I said, I've got that one sequence for whatever reason. It just, maybe 5 times out of 100, it will not import those faces, and they just have to be added manually. Well, now you know how to do that. You go in, you add a face, you give it the right name. It's important that that name is the name that's in the face effect, and you can fix it if for some reason the zip file addition does not work right. All right, so any questions about any of that? All right, so now what I'm going to show you is kind of taking the mapping to kind of a next level. This is real handy if you get sequences from the same source, whether it's your favorite sequencer or just whatever it is. And what you want to do is you want to kind of standardize and you want to do exactly what they have. All right, so let me change our directory here, and I'm going to change that to mapping to the Whoville. For those of you that don't know, our house is actually kind of a Whoville house. A lot of our older sequences had that layout, but people had difficulty mapping from that, so we switched over to what we currently have. But our existing house actually looks like this. We've got a nice big matrix on our roof. We've got 2 mega trees, except for one of them is an angel tree. And so anyway, this is kind of what our house looks like. You can see over here on the left, these are the standard things I've got. Now, if I wanted to standardize to my existing layout, let me show you what I can do. I'm going to go over here and I'm going to right click and I'm going to import previews, models, and groups. And then I'm going to browse to where the RGB effects file that I want to use is located. So if we go to desktop, we've got, go back to our purchased sequences, go back to the Showstopper, that time of year, traditional layout. Okay, this is the RGB effects file that I want to use. It's the one that I have downloaded and unzipped, and I'm going to tell it to open that. Now, what happens next is I get a list of all the different models and groups that are in there. Well, I've got my own models, so I'm not interested in importing those, but I am interested in importing the groups. Now, I'm just going to do all of them because you don't have to. You can pick and choose which ones you want to import. Now, what I'm doing is I am setting up my layout so that the names of the groups match the names of my source groups. And you can do this for however many sequencers you use on a regular basis. In other words, anybody that you use, you can go in and copy the groups that they have. Okay, now remember, we're not copying the props. The props will be down there. We're just interested in the groups. And I'm adding submodels. Mine are marked. Okay, that's good enough for illustration. All right, so down here at the bottom, it says include empty model groups. Select that. Okay, I'm going to tell it okay. It's going to do its thing. Now look over here on the left. You will see that all the groups that I selected have been added. Now, what you'll do, and I've already done this, so it does show up, but what you'll want to do is you'll want to, let's say, everything but starburst and override. Okay, you go in and you select that group. Okay, well, that's not what I've got on there. So what you'll do is you come in and you select what you want. Easy way to do that, if I'm going to do everything, right-click that. Okay, and then I'm going to add it to an existing group. So I can select, okay, that's going to be, go to my everything but starburst. I'll clean it up later, take the starburst out. Okay, I'm going to add those props to those groups. I'm going to tell it okay. So now I've just kind of populated what's there. All right, so that's the first step. You go in, you copy your source files groups. Then you go into your layout and you add your props to those groups. Then the next thing that you want to do, and I'll show you this, I'm just going to create, I'm going to go up here to File. I'm going to make a new sequence. I'm going to make an animation. I'm going to do 40 frames per second, quick start. And I'm going to go in and I'm going to edit the display elements. I'm going to go to the master view and I'm going to clone it. And let's call this one, since it's the Showstopper layout, I'm going to tell it to use the Showstoppers. Oh, I have to make it 2 since I've already got one. All right, so we got Showstopper 2 in there. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to select everything that is not a Showstopper group. And I'm going to move it out to the side. Now, one of the reasons why I number this, that numbering system that I have is also my render order. So if I come over here and tell it to sort by name, okay, now all the Showstopper stuff is at the top. Anything that I need to remove is down at the bottom. So I'm going to delete, take that. I'm going to move those over there. Now there's some that I removed that I need, like I'm going to need the matrix and I'm going to need the tree. So I'll move those back over. Oh, it's already got them in there. There we go. All right, so those are in there, but they are, okay. So what I've done is I have now created a view that is the Showstopper view. So I'm going to take that, I'm going to tell it to make it the master. Okay, it will make it the master, and all these other things are going to be left out. And you'll see there that our master view just has those ones that copy the Showstopper. You can do the same thing for PPD. You can do it for Magical Light Shows, Pixel Perfect. You know, any sequencer, you can create your own view, and you just select it and make it the master. Now, why would you do that? Well, all right, let's go to import effects. Go to import, that time of year, open that up. We can import that stuff. We can load our mapping, and, you know, we can, yeah. Okay. I don't care about that. All right, so the mapping wasn't meant for this one. So let's just throw some things in. Arches, candy canes, all icicles, all mini trees, all snowflakes, snowflake arms, snowflake centers, center stars, tips, spokes, outlines. Okay, let's save this one. Call that the Whoville mapping. Now, we have that in there, but here's the problem with that. It does not give you the render order. What I mean by that is if you have your own master file and your master file does not match the render order of the source sequence, you can run into problems. I'll give you an example. Remember I said it's the big stuff at the top, and you just keep getting smaller and smaller and smaller, because what you want is you want these smaller groups to modify the bigger groups. And by setting it up that way, I can have snowflakes going over the whole house, the entire display, but still have my candy canes going, because the candy canes modify the bigger one based on the render order. Now, if I have those reversed, I've got the candy canes up here at the top, and then I put snowflakes on everything, but I've got candy canes above it. What's going to happen is that the snowflakes are going to override the candy canes, and you're not going to get the candy cane effects because the snowflakes are going over it. So just remember that. The render order is important. If you ever import something and it's not showing up, even though you know it's there, you're looking at it, you know that all the settings are correct, and you can't figure out why it's not showing up, chances are good it's the render order. You've got something overriding, you've got something out of order. One of the nice things, like I said, about using the numbering system is, yeah, it identifies the props, and you know, for example, it'll identify, like, for example, here I've got the icicles is 01.70, and then the submodels that I've got for it are numbered sequentially 01, 0.7, 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.4, etc. So I identify the prop, identify the submodels. Really handy once you get used to it. I know it's unusual, but the reason why I use it is simply because the alphabet is inadequate for, when you've got snowflakes on the garage, snowflakes in the yard, snowflakes on the roof. And somebody calls me and says, "Hey, I got problems with my snowflakes." Well, can you tell me the model number? That helps me a lot in troubleshooting for them. I can go directly to what it is. All right, so what you want to do when you set up your import, when you match your layout to your source layout, real simple. What you'll want to do is you import the groups by going to the RGB effects file for the source file. After you have imported those groups, you populate them with props. Then you go in and you create a new master file that will match that. And you will use that master file only when you are importing from that source. So you'll have a master file for PPD, for Magical Light Shows, for Pixel Perfect, for Sequence Solutions, whoever you're using, whoever you've done that for, you'll have a separate master file, and you'll use that master file when you're importing from that source, that sequencer, or if you're downloading.
Master files are unique to each sequence?
Pardon me?
A master file is unique to each sequence?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And then it's rendered by the master file.
Yes, and then the render will match up. So you won't run into any render order problems by matching it up. Now with mine, like I said, all you got to do is go in and sort it because it's all by numbers. Now, if you're doing, for example, anybody else, what you've got to do is you've got to use that, go and look at their master file render order. And when you create your master file, you'll have to do the same thing as what they did.
When you did this setup, wouldn't it make it easy to do an auto import?
Absolutely. That's all you do. All you've got to do is just go into AutoMap, and since the everything's named the same, it will just bring it on in. I just hit AutoMap. Should pick up some more. Yeah, I didn't have all of them in there, but you'll see there that it picked up a lot of them just by hitting the AutoMap. If I had set up all of them right, they would be in there.
That include the submodels?
You can, yes. If you've got submodels on your system, set up right, and you populate the submodel subdirectory. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, any questions about that? All right, so that's pretty much an overview, good overview of the old style, the old school method of importing sequences, the new method of importing sequences, and kind of an advanced way of importing sequences by copying the structure of the source file, creating new groups, populating those groups, creating a new master file, and using that master file every time you use that source. All right, so now it's just questions, and hopefully somebody kept track of how many times we needed to take a drink when you hit zip, when I said zip file. All right, I'll hang around for a while and answer any questions, because I know sometimes people take us a little while for them to think about it. It's a lot of information very quickly, but I'll hang around for a while and answer any questions you might have, if I can.
Michael, I just want to say thank you again for doing this, and gives us some more ways that we can import and better understand why something doesn't work when it's supposed to.
Yeah, one of the nice things, like I said, with if importing from the zip file doesn't work right, a lot of people, their only recourse is to get on get into the, the Zoom room and get some help. But now you can kind of do your own troubleshooting.
Thank you very much.
All right, thanks a lot.
Hey, Michael,